let's talk about the Immortal problem. Now, I went live last Monday talking about the brand new Necron and the brand new AdMech codex and kind of talking about some of the combos that I found in the Necron codex because that's the faction I'm most interested in, and AdMech are just a bit bad. Well, before I do go on, again, I've got the new codex. Thank you very much to Games Workshop for sending me a preview copy, and let me tell you the issue. Now, you might have heard about the Immortal problem, but if you have heard of it and you don't know how it works, or you've not heard about it, you want to learn about it, then this is the video for you. New codexes brings armies brand new detachments to play with, and with their detachments, they give themselves army rules, they give them unique enhancements, and they give them a bunch of stratagems, or 6 to be specific, 6 brand new stratagems to play with. And as a competitive player like me, the first thing I'm going to do is go through those detachments and try and find the best one that suits the faction, and the best one with the best stratagems, the best enhancements, the one that's going to make the army go from pretty good to really good, and without even trying. Now, this combo does feel pretty obnoxious because it can pretty much remove any light, medium, or kind of heavy targets without even trying. And on stream, we actually did the maths to prove it. I stream every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Mondays when I go over like rules and dramas and just things that are kind of exciting or things that I'm really excited to talk about. Wednesday I do painting and Friday I do gaming. Now, the most obnoxious detachment in this codex is the KOP Tech Core. The KOP Tech Core affects Cryptek and KOP Tech units. It's actually kind of misleading in the title. So any units that contain either of these models, which means you can take Crypteks and put them into a unit of warriors or immortals and make them Cryptek units, so they'll then benefit from the detachment. And the detachment benefit is known as the power matrix, and this is very similar to Shadows in the Warp for Chaos Demons, but if you don't know how that works, let me tell you. So essentially, these units, Cryptek and Chronomancer, are going to reroll 1s to hit all the time, which is just boosts the efficiency, especially when this detachment doesn't give you +1 to hit whilst you're being led, because obviously most Necron armies up until this point we're basically hitting on 3s or counters hitting on 3s because they're being led by a unit, and now they're going to go to mostly ballistics go 4. The power matrix is essentially a system that whilst you're gaining board control, these units can now re-roll hit rolls rather than hit rolls of 1. Again, specifically Cryptek units or units containing Cryptek and Chronomancer. They're the other two that are affected by this. Your deployment zone is always under your power matrix no matter what, so whilst the unit is in your deployment zone, it's going to allow those units to re-roll hits, which means Tech units that are backline shooting are going to be really good, which is why everyone's kind of starting to talk about Doomstalkers again, where no one really considered them. They were all running Doomsday arcs. Now Doomstalkers are suddenly back on the cards because they're re-rolling all hit whilst they're in the deployment zone, which they probably always will be. There's also some other good stratagems in there which can make them lone operative, but let's focus on the ones at hand. Let's talk about the Cryptek units, because the power matrix, essentially, whilst you're not in power matrix, you re-roll 1s to hit. If you control half the objectives in No Man's Land, that becomes your power matrix for full re-rolls to hit. Or if you control half the number of objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone, that becomes the power matrix. So you can very easily make the No Man's Land the power matrix, and even if you're really lucky, you can make the opponent's deployment zone the power matrix for full re-roll hits. A unit that people haven't been running for a long time is Immortals. Now, Immortals are relatively cheap in current points cost. I'm going to be referencing points cost from the current Monitor and Field Manual, which is not the updated points, but I imagine these points are going to be pretty close when the new Monitor and Field Manual does come out with the new updated points for this codex as well as the AdMech. For 140 points, you get 10 Immortals, which are T5, only 1 wound, but they are OC2. They can take Tesla carbines, which are now 24-inch range, 2-shot strength 5, 1 damage, no AP. However, they have sustained hits 2, which means a critical hit, usually a 6, is going to generate 2 additional hits. So a 6 to hit is 3 hits rather than 1. And that's obviously pretty good. Now, the profile on its own isn't that exciting, but Immortals have a special rule on their datasheet where they reroll 1s to wound. Unless you're targeting something that is on an objective marker, then they reroll all wound rolls. Meaning, if you bang a Cryptek in this unit, because all the Crypteks can attach to this unit, they are rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound all the time, which makes them just a pretty efficient unit because they've just got 3 rerolls without even trying. Now, obviously, in this detachment, they're going to be rerolling all hit rolls if you're in the power matrix, which if you're in No Man's Land is pretty easy to do because you can just hold pretty much 2 objectives and then you've got it. And it's just checked at the start of each phase as well. So you essentially reanimate. Do you hold half? No. Okay. Do I move and now do I hold half? Probably. Okay, cool. You reroll and hit. Now, if you're targeting something that is on an objective marker in an enemy unit, you're rerolling all wounds as well. So now you've got Immortals with 20 Tesla carbine shots, re-rolling hits, re-rolling wounds. And obviously in this edition and all editions recently, you don't have to re-roll failed hits, all failed wounds. You can re-roll all hits or all wounds. You just choose which ones you re-roll. So you can fish for the best option. If you attach a Plasmancer, the Cryptek from the Indomitus box, to this unit, He has a pretty good shooting weapon. He has a pretty cool rule to ping out mortal wounds himself, like on like 2 or 3 on average. And also he triggers critical hits on 5s, which means rather than needing a 6 to hit to get 3 hits, you're actually only going to need a 5 to hit, which increases your chances quite a bit. A third of the time you're getting 3 hits rather than 1. Again, on Monday, we did the maths behind this. You go from taking an average of 20 hits to an average of 37 hits, which is pretty crucial. That's almost doubling the amount of hit rolls you've got, just by adding what's currently like a 50 or 60 point character into that unit. Now, the KOP Tech Core has a pretty cool stratagem that is used at the start of the shooting phase. This is its only limitation. It's at the start rather than at any point. It's called Cynosure of Eradication. I actually use this combo in a battle report, which you can go watch now if you're really interested. New Necrons versus new Adeptus Mechanicus. The Cynosure of Eradication is a Cryptek or KOP Tech unit. So again, these Immortals, for example. Now, this is 2 command points, so it is kind of expensive. But you can basically give that unit devastating wounds. This is shooting or fight phase. So let's talk about these Immortals. They're getting 37 hits on average. So if you spike, you're doing even better, probably 40 or more. And now they have devastating wounds. Bearing in mind that Immortals, while they reroll wound rolls of 1s all the time, and they can reroll all wounds against something that is on an objective, these Tesla carbines that are pretty lackluster when they're only strength 5 and 1 damage and no AP, and they don't ignore cover or anything, are now doing devastating wounds which ignore all saves of all kinds. And since it's 1 damage, it's very efficient at killing pretty much every target, because now devastating wounds don't apply as mortal wounds. 1 damage devastating wounds are still as efficient because they apply 1 damage, 1 at a time, which is kind of like mortal wounds, but it isn't, because it's just, oh, I take 1 damage and you've done 15, so I'll take 15 wounds off in total because it's 1 at a time, which is very crucial. So now this, again, probably 200 or sub 200 points. Going off the points from today, I've not got the new points. I can't talk about the new points today. Now got a sub 200 point unit that is doing on average 37 hits, and then with full rerolls on 6s to wound on average, dealing around 30, well, between 12 and 15 mortal wounds. Because you got full rerolls to wound and to hit, and you're exploding on 5s, which is pretty obnoxious because most like light to kind of like not mega heavy units, it's not going to kill Imperial Knight on their own, but they're going to kill pretty much any other unit on their own pretty convincingly on average. And that's the thing, it's on average doing like 13 mortal wounds. As soon as you spike, you're going to do like closer to 16. If you don't do so well, you're going to do 10, which is still going to kill like, you know, it's going to quite comfortably pick up like a Redemptor Dreadnought every turn, or it's not going to pick up a Land Raider on average, but it's going to do a hell of a lot of damage to it, when it's going to make the rest of your army like quite comfortably pick up that unit, just because you brought sub 200 points of Immortals that shot some Tesla and then the Land Raider just exploded. That is pretty obnoxious in my opinion, and it's very, very cheap, to a point where I don't think it's going to last, because you can actually make it even gnarlier, because you can add in a Overlord with Translocation Shroud. The brand new Overlord model has 2 really good abilities for this specific combo. 1, it is an Overlord, which means you can use a stratagem on this unit even if you've used it on another unit, which means you can do it to 2 units of Immortals, which is going to be even more brutal, but also use it for free. So if you've only got 1 unit of Immortals, it's going to cost you 0 CP, and you can give them devastating wounds for free. Or if you've got 2 units of Immortals, you can do it twice, and it's only going to cost you 2 CP, because otherwise you can only use stratagems once unless you've got a rule like this, because this stratagem is a battle tactic, which means you can use it for free, or you can use it multiple times a turn if you've got abilities that allow you to do that. The downside to this is people who have command point effective or command point modifying abilities like essentially Agents of Vect or Kaladin Assassin, they can increase the cost, but it's so cheap in most games, not everybody has access to that, so you can go, okay, I'm going to spend it for free, and now I'm going to do 13 mortal wounds, lol. And as I said, you can do this with 2 units now, so you can do on average 26 mortal wounds, because you can have 2 Plasmancers, exploding 5s, rerolling all hits, rerolling all wounds, do it for free on a unit. 26 mortal wounds, just from like 400 points. Or maybe like, well, I think the Lord is like 85 points now, so if the new Overlord with Translocation Shroud is the same points, we're talking like 270, 280 points per unit. You only need 1 Overlord, so you're talking like 500 points. Now, that sounds quite expensive, but when a unit can just look at a target and there's no interaction from your opponent to stop it happening, It is pretty brutal. Also, the second part of his datasheet is the fact that he allows a unit to automatically advance 6 inches and essentially fly. I had to go back and record this bit. I completely forgot. So now these Immortals are moving 11 inches. They've got assault weapons, so they can just advance and shoot as normal. They can advance and do actions as well. But now they're advancing 11 inches and then shooting and doing loads of devastating wounds. So they're actually pretty quick because, again, they essentially fly. There is another trick as well. You can actually reduce the efficiency by not including a Plasmancer and actually attaching a Chronomancer, the time shifter one, which would give your Immortals -1s a hit. Now, not so great. The Immortals are only T5 with a 3 up save and 1 wound. They're going to die anyway. But the thing is with the Chronomancer, what you can do is you can actually move out, shoot your target, and then the Chronomancer will allow that unit to make a normal move. So you can move 5 inches. So you can have move, shoot, move, devastating wounds. So they can keep them protected. They can only hit by indirect or something that's really close, but they can just come out and shoot the thing that's really close and then hide again, which is obviously really, really strong. Now, obviously, this is only one combo from this detachment, and it feels pretty strong. I don't know if it's going to get nerfed. It feels like it might do because Games Workshop have basically taken everything that allows you to reroll wounds and has access to devastating wounds and just neutered it. Look at Gene Stealers, for example. They've just neutered it and they don't like you re-rolling it into devastating wounds. They don't like you fishing for the best target, and that's what it's pretty much called when we're rolling. Where we roll to hit and we hit on 3s, but we're just going to re-roll everything except for 5s because we want the exploding hits, and then, for example, the same on 6s to wound for devastating wounds. It's 2s to wound, but I'm like re-rolling everything because I want to do Mortals instead. Anything like that has pretty much been nerfed by GW, so I imagine, just from like my own experience of this game, I imagine that's probably something that's going to get changed. But that is just one really good combo from this codex, and from this detachment even. Again, I used all of these rules in the battle report that I put out a couple of days ago. I really appreciate if you go and check it out and go and give it a watch. But all of these abilities all come together, which a lot of people are complaining that the Necron codex doesn't feel very strong, and I think this detachment probably takes them through the roof. So yeah, so that's one of the most obnoxious combos in this codex. I think it's fun, but do I see it lasting? No. Do I see things being like stupidly high in points? Maybe. But again, today's points, it seems pretty cheap. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Oh yeah, I'm going to be live tonight, by the way, at 7. Like, I'm live every Monday, but I don't know if I noticed. Did I tell you? Live every Monday? You should tune in. See you there.